Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. So today's video is going to be about the top 8 books that I want to get to in 2018. I made a very similar video to this for 2017, except it was with 7 books, and I found that video to be very motivating. I ended up reading 5 of the 7 books that I featured in that video, so I'm hoping that by featuring these books this year, that will push me to actually pick them up. The first book that I'd like to get to in 2018 is The Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. And I've actually already kind of gotten to it. I am at this point 144 pages in. Part of the reason I picked this one up so soon is because Les really wanted me to read it so we could talk about it, and I was like, all right, that works. So I've already made a nice dent in it, and I have a feeling I will be finished with it in not too long of a time. This is a very popular book. I'm sure many of you have already read it. There is a movie that has come out based upon it, but it's about a woman named Rachel who is an alcoholic. She's struggling in her life, and she rides the train into London most days, and she has sort of attached herself to this one family that she can see every day when she's traveling by the train, and then she sees something that she shouldn't have seen, and it kind of completely derails everything, and now you have yourselves a thriller. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm intrigued. I'm interested to see what's going to happen, so I'm glad I picked this one up first. The second book I would like to read is Ada Blackjack, A True Story of Survival in the Arctic by Jennifer Niven. This is a nonfiction book. It's a true story about an Inuit woman named Ada Blackjack who joins this Arctic expedition, a small Arctic expedition, to be their seamstress and to make some money to help take care of her son. They go in to the north, and then 2 years later, Ada is the only one who returns, and this is her story of what happened. It sounds like something I would really enjoy. I enjoy nonfiction books where people are dealing with extreme situations and seeing what happens to them, how they make it out, and how it affects the rest of their lives. The third book is a classic and one that I never read in high school, and that is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Many of you will be familiar with this book. It's about a man who is a fireman, and his job is to burn books and the houses that they're found in, and how that sort of mentality changes as he meets a person or people and realizes that maybe what he's doing is not right. That might be a horrible summary for those of you who have read the book and actually know what happens, but that is sort of the summary that has been in my head ever since I've known this book has existed, so hopefully this year I will actually pick it up and finally figure out what happens in Fahrenheit 451. The fourth book that I would like to read is Chernobyl Prayer by Svetlana Alexievich, and it's translated by Anna Goonan and Arch Tate. This is one that I have had on my Goodreads TBR pile for a while, and then Les actually got it for me for Christmas, so that was really nice of her, and it's in the wonderful, beautiful Penguin Modern editions, which will match the few that I have floating around back there. This is a nonfiction book about the Chernobyl disaster, but mostly focuses on the people who live there and maybe have never wanted to leave, how that changed their lives, their family, a bunch of different things. Basically, the little like chapter headings in the book say monologue on something, and so it's just, I assume, interviews with people and their thoughts on that particular topic and how it pertains to them, their family, and the Chernobyl disaster. I feel like it'll be a really devastating read, but a very interesting one at the same time. This book goes in a completely different direction from the last one, and that is Once and For All by Sarah Dessen. I did have Saint Anything on my list last year, and I really enjoyed it, and so now that this book has come out, I wanted to add this one to my list. I actually read a snippet of this book, the first chapter, already when I did the Try a Chapter tag a few months ago, and I really liked it. The book follows a young woman named Luna who has worked for her mother's wedding planning business for a number of years, and she's kind of become jaded by the whole idea of love and getting married, but then, as with all Sarah Dessen books, there comes along a boy who may or may not change her views. We'll see. I don't usually gravitate towards books like this, but I really enjoy Sarah Dessen's writing style, and I did really enjoy that one snippet that I read, so I want to make sure that I get to this one in 2018. The next book I want to read is Walter Bonatti's The Mountains of My Life. This one was actually featured in my 2017 top books I want to get to. This is one of the two that I didn't read, and when I was looking back at my shelves trying to decide what books I was really in the mood for to read in 2018, this one still was towards the top, so I figured I could just put it in again and see if I actually get to it this year. This is another nonfiction book, and it is also in the wonderful Penguin Modern Classics edition, and Walter Bonatti is a very well-known Italian mountaineer. He has a particularly famous ascent of K2 that, if you've ever heard of him, that's probably why you've heard of him, but this is just him writing about his life and getting into mountaineering and his early retirement, and this one is translated by Robert Marshall, so we can thank Robert for putting in the effort to translate this book, because a lot of Walter Bonatti's books have not been translated into English, so I am excited to read this. I find mountaineering a very fascinating thing, whether it's focusing on a particular mountaineer or a particular adventure like Into Thin Air or No Way Down, just anything like that. I love it. I live for these kind of books, so I am excited to check this out and see one that is about the life of a mountaineer and not just like a particular moment in time. My second to last book that I want to get to is We Are as Gods, Back to the Land in the 1970s on the Quest for a New America by Kate DeLawes. This one takes place in my old stomping grounds of Vermont. It is another nonfiction book, and as it says here, it is focusing on the Back to the Land movement and the people who were kind of hippie-ish and decided that with Vietnam happening, they didn't really want to be part of that society. They wanted to go back to the land and live and try and survive as a community on their own. The author's parents were part of that movement, so I have a feeling she's going to be getting a lot of her information from them and their friends, and I'm just really curious. I feel like it'll be a really interesting read. And finally, the last book that I would like to get to, number 8, is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I've had this one on my shelf for a very long time, and I finally feel like this is the year that I will pick it up. When I was a kid and adults would come up to me and they'd be like, "Oh, what's your name?" And I would say, "My name's Rebecca." And they would be like, "Oh, like Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm." Part of me wants to read this book, so, you know, those people in my past, if they're like, "Oh, Rebecca of Sunnybrook Farm," and I can be like, "No, like Rebecca of Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier." For those of you who are not aware, Rebecca is about an unnamed narrator who meets this widow and they get married, and she goes back to live in the house where this man used to live with his now dead wife, who is Rebecca, and we find out how much Rebecca has influenced everything in this house and the people there. So it just sounds so creepy, but in like the best way, like very gothic. I don't think I've ever had anybody say that they didn't enjoy this book on some level, so I would finally like to read it so I can be part of that group, and then I can be like, yeah, Rebecca as in Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Alright, so those are all the books that I really hope to get to in 2018. If you have some books that you absolutely want to read this year, let me know what they are down below. I'd love to hear what books are on the top of your list. As always, all of our links are in the doobly-doo. You can check those out if you feel so inclined. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you later.